Aloha Friday, everybody. Thank you for being with me tonight. I'm actually waiting on Brad to join me, but I'm happy that you're with me tonight. We're talking about the best version of you, leadership and the best version of you. And I hope that you're ready for the best version of you. I sure am. Now, folks, if you're with me tonight, don't be shy. Just go on in there and tell me where you're joining from, and we'll get this cooking here. But it's interesting, right? We're trying to develop the best version of ourselves daily. And so tonight is no exception as we discuss this topic of developing the best version of you. And once Brad gets in here, we'll get into his take on it. But go ahead in there and tell me, what's your desire for 2022? We're already, pretty much through March. We're coming on April 1st. Hopefully it's not an April Fool's Day for any of you. But I tell you, we're always looking for the best version of ourselves. And I'm going to let Brad in here and let him join in. Hey, Brad, how are you?
What's up, buddy?
I was just warming it up here for you.
All right. I'm glad you could get all the dirt out of the way before I hopped on air.
But yeah, just well, first of all, Brad, thank you for being with me today. Aloha Friday to you, and Aloha Friday to everybody listening. And we're going to be talking about leadership and the best version of you. Brad is the best person to talk about this. That's why I can have him on. He's written a book that I really want to discuss tonight, and hopefully you guys will not only listen to what he has to say, but get in there and get that book. You can see it in the backdrop, DNA of a Winner. I'm excited about discussing that. But Brad, first of all, thank you for being with us, and tell us a little bit about you.
Man, I'm so excited to be with you, big dog. Gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm Brad Dalton. I'm the Best Self Catalyst speaker, host of the Best Self podcast, best-selling author, lifelong educator, and husband to an incredible wife that's far cooler than I am. Dad to two awesome sons, one of which is on the autism spectrum, and he's a big part of my story. And yeah, man, I like to be, people are my juice. I like to be the chief encouragement officer for those in the back, the middle, and the front, and always leading from the front. So, that's the Cliff Note version of this guy. I was told I was just out of Starbucks 5 minutes ago, Enrique, and I was told that I also look like Peyton Manning. So I'm definitely going to take that. I need to somehow fit that into my bio. Also looks like Peyton Manning minus his salary and his paycheck.
A Peyton Manning doppelganger. All right. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, look, it's always going to be something. I don't think anybody's that told me that I look like anyone, and that's okay because we got to be our own. So, but now that you mention it, it does, like in a glimpse as you pass you by. It's like, hey, hold on. Yeah, that's not him.
I think that either says that I just have a bigger forehead. Maybe I've got dragon breath. Something along those lines. I was watching one of your previous guests. They had a beer in their hand. I these people weren't drinking, so I know they were thinking clearly when they said this.
Right. Leadership and beer. That was a fun one. If you have not, if you're listening to that right now, you haven't taken a look at that one. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Terry, thank you for being with us. Aloha to you. I appreciate you joining us. Always good to see that aloha come through. So, Brad, yeah, you reminded me of my run today. Today, folks, I actually went out and did 4 miles.
Ooh,
That's for a 50-year-old. That's that's a
yeah,
little that's a hump. But I had my and you mentioned leading from the front, right? And I had pulled up a YouTube inspirational, throw me back to my boot camp and training days, and I had cadence going. And
mm,
in a cadence formation, you have this one figure that could use their voice, push it out forward and backwards, and that's how loud they are, but also has the ability to sing some motivational cadence,
mm,
has the group pumped up. And when you mention leading from the front, right, they lead from the middle, but that's intended that way. But that person is driving this whole entire evolution. And 4 miles didn't seem like much when I
right,
was listening to that. It was only after the song finished,
right.
and I'm walking in my house like, what was I thinking?
Yeah,
But you mentioned leading from the front, so I love that you bring that up, and so happy that that's how you execute your life. This morning I was talking to my second mother, and we was talking about life execution. How
mm,
you run your life, um, and the makeup of a person that runs it uh, well, right? Runs it well. You mentioned,
mhm.
I had mentioned the DNA of a winner.
Sure,
So tell us a little bit about that, because I really want to speak on that
sure.
specifically.
Yeah. Well, stoked to be here with you and your listeners. What a cool show. Yeah, the DNA of winner. Gosh, kind of the story on how that even came about. I was a I've been a mindset guy for 20 plus years, but had only done mindset business as kind of a side hustle for most of that time, and was successful at it, but hadn't really put my foot on the gas just because I hadn't really needed to. And for me, when things really started kicking into gear for me was COVID. I was, like I said, I was a lifelong educator, and I was trying to figure out a way to be innovative and creative with having to teach online and all that jazz. And I decided I'd start a podcast, and the podcast grew real quick. It was really just intended for clients and students and that sort of stuff, but it got to be over 50 countries in just 5 months. And I was just really lucky. One of Tony Robbins' former publishers had heard it, and they just reached out to me and said, "Hey, you want to do a book?" And I was like, "How do I say no to that?" So we ended up writing a book and banged it out pretty quick, and it was a bestseller last spring. And it really got me excited because I could see the broad reach I could have, and I measure success with impact. I want to have a massive impact. I've probably looked at 5 stipends my entire life, and there might be some that may not be totally responsible either, but it gives you an idea. I want to have impact, and so when I wrote the book and all the speaking engagements and coaching opportunities started coming out, it's like, man, I love this. And what I speak about is basically what's inside the book. Everything that revolves around becoming the best version of you, helping your community become the best version of it. And that community could be, your office space, it could be your team, it could be your corporation, it could be your city, could be wherever. I mean, who doesn't want to be a better version of themselves? Who doesn't want that? Even peeps that are kind of sitting in pity city, they don't really want to be in pity city. They're having a hard time finding the courage, and maybe they need you and I, you, me, and we, to be their strength. And so, having those kind of tools ready to rock and roll when the people we care about and the communities that we care about need us the most. We call that the double win. By adding value to others, you add value to your own life. And man, what a cool feeling that is.
Absolutely. I tell you, when we talk about the makeup of a leader, the makeup of a person that as you're desiring to make an impact. And I'm one that tells most people, lead where you are. You don't necessarily need to lead a group of people. You don't need to lead a corporation. You don't have to wait to execute your leadership when that happens.
Right.
It's almost too late because you've already wasted all this time, right? Of potential of adding to the flavor of you. If you don't do something.
Flavor. I love it. Love it.
There's somebody says, "Hey, awesome, Brad Jacob here from Virginia." And sometimes the LinkedIn kind of hides their identity, but that's all right. I know who you are, Jacob. But so there's a lot of wasted time. And you mentioned folks in pity, right? Fit in that pity realm of our life, because who they see me. Well, so the person you see today has not always been all gung ho running and all of that. There were moments in my life where I had to seclude and I had to think about things and I had to see a way forward. And so all of that adds to that flavor that I just spoke about. But a lot of people are cooking without salt. That's how I say it. They're cooking without salt, right? And it's a hard,
love it.
It's a hard thing to present yourself unseasoned, right?
Cooking without salt. All right, I'm going to school today, baby. I'm writing that one down, and I am definitely borrowing it.
Well, hey, I said it, but hey, go ahead, brother. That's what this world's about.
It's on the B.E.S.T list.
But so you talk about the DNA of a winner. What is it in a person that makes them different? There's this pity, woe is me, that all of us find ourselves in one way or another.
Sure.
To this successful, sitting at the mountaintop, yelling to the world. There's a switch there because, and I'll tell you, from my life, I was a person, and then there was this switch. It turned from who I was to who I am, and it was like going in a room and switching. Now, obviously, right, it was not the switch at that moment. All these things had happened to the point where the light was ready to be turned on. And so I got there. But what in your time coaching and your time speaking, through speaking about your work and your book, what have you found that is that switch for people? Because some people don't even get to turn the light on.
Yeah. Well, one, I would say that we all have winner in us. We all have winner in us. A lot of times, I would say too that we just have our lens in the wrong place. Where our eyes are just looking in the wrong place. It's there. It's like for me, you always guys are the worst at this. Well, I don't know what to get my wife for her present, or I don't know what to get my wife for this. Well, they've probably told you 50 million times. You just really weren't listening. And so we got to listen. We got to listen, and we got to talk to ourselves in a way that's going to be productive. Are the words that are about to come out of my mouth, is that text, is that snap, is that email that I'm about to submit, is this going to be productive or anti-productive? So we got to start taking an inventory of our thoughts. I mean, we collect data on everything else in this world. Why wouldn't we collect data on our thoughts? Because if we want to become a winner, we got to think like a winner, and we start to become what we think about. And so I would say that. I would also say that a lot of times when we have our lens in the wrong place, we're getting caught up trying to be something we're not. The stuff that we were told when we were 6 or 7 years old, the stuff that I was told from the very beginning, just do your best, just do your best. You truly just need to be the best version of you. You can transform today. You can start transforming your life today. And it doesn't have to be big steps. It could be small steps. It could be 0.01% better steps. And I don't think that's unrealistic. A lot of people they make these goals that are unrealistic. But is it really unrealistic to be 0.01%? Does that seem like such a huge task? I think we can do it. And so we don't need to be anything more than all that we are. All right. We don't need to be somebody else. A lot of times people make mistakes, or a lot of times feel like the world's really just weighing on them down there in Pity City, just weighing on them. It feels like I said, they don't feel like they have enough courage and strength to get out, because they feel like with big problems, they have to come up with big solutions. And that's not how it works. That's not how it works. All right. If we would just focus on being 0.01% better for 365 days, 24/7 this year, that's a 37% increase. 37% increase. Incredible. Just being 0.01% better. So I think the switch is where's our lens and where's our focus? I talk a lot about, goals are really important. Goals are really important. But, Enrique, you said something earlier about becoming. And the why is so important. The why helps us sustain, and the what's so important. But, man, who do we wish to become? Who do we wish to become? And if we wish to become a different kind of beast, if we wish to become someone that's trending up a little bit more than we are, we need to be more growth focused and growth conscious, and maybe less goal conscious. If we want to mature ourselves, if we want to mature the people around us, we're going to be a little more growth conscious. If we're just simply looking to motivate people, goals can motivate you. I thank you. I have found, and Enrique, you mind if I tell my story just real quick?
No, brother, go ahead.
It might give people a little more perspective on where I'm coming from. I tend to tell my story. My success story, I've always kind of been regarded as a positive guy. That's always kind of been my thing, almost to a fault. I mean, I've always been a servant leader. Wasn't always a guy that filled up my own cup. But that's certainly been something I've had to work on. But when my second son was diagnosed with autism when he was 3. And man, my wife and I had both been career educators, and we'd worked with many kiddos on the autism spectrum, and we knew it was coming. I'm a personable guy. Enrique, if we were both at a wedding reception right now, you would be seeing me dominating the dance floor. My wife and someone once called me the mayor because it seemed like I couldn't go anywhere without people knowing me. Just real social. My wife's the same way. But kiddos or adults on the spectrum, it's a big spectrum, so I'm really generalizing here. But generally speaking, the social piece is tough for them. And because of that, or partially because of that, they have a harder time making friends. It's not that they aren't cool beings and not that they aren't cool cats. It's that people in society have a hard time looking at other people that are not deemed their type of typical. And so when my kiddo got diagnosed, I describe it as the 15-minute sucker punch to the gut, because we got the diagnosis. My wife and I took separate cars to it, to the appointment. And man, the 15-minute drive home, I mean, there were tears. My stomach was just in knots. I was probably in a 45-mile-per-hour speed limit. I bet I was going 35. I was just on coast mode, just frazzled. And I talk about it. I've told this story many times, and I still, even talking about it right now, it's tough. I almost start sweating just talking about it. But by the time I got into my driveway, it was about 15 minutes. By the time I rolled into my driveway, I made the decision that I was not going to feel sorry for him. I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. I'm not going to feel that's not going to help him, and it's not going to help me, and it's not going to help anybody. I've got 15 years to give him the best life possible. 15 years. So from that moment forward, anything I was before that, just a highlighter got put over it. I was a positive guy. Man, I'm going to be a growth-minded guy now. I'm going to be all about the success road. Success isn't a destination, and success isn't the end of the road. Success is the road. Success is the road. And man, did I learn that when I had a kiddo on the spectrum, because what worked with him 2 weeks ago may not work today. And so everything was constantly evolving. And so I didn't start getting fixated on numbers. I started getting fixated on growth. Are we better today than we were yesterday? Is it okay that we had a setback today? It is. It's totally okay, because we're all going to have setbacks. Now, he's on the autism spectrum, but you, me, and we have setbacks all the time. But if all we do is focus on those negative vibrations, then that's going to lead us into a deeper hole. And so I don't focus on the vibrations. I embrace the vibrations. I don't focus on a struggle. I embrace the struggle. And man, I really learned that. And you kind of mentioned switch, and you mentioned becoming. I think it's so important that we are success road minded, that we do focus on growth, because goals are great. We all have goals. I have goals every week, but I'm focusing on my habits that lead me to those goals. And those are all things that I've learned as part of my story. So they kind of tie in with your switch and who do we want to become? Maybe Enrique, maybe we come up with a to-be list, not just a to-do list. Why don't we come up with a to-be list? Who do we want to become?
Yeah, and that's so important. I love your story, and your decision. Your decision has made, and I don't know how long it has been since that day, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's 5 years have passed. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been 13 now. He
Okay.
just turned 16 this month. Yeah.
Right. So your decision dictated the rest of these last 16. And it's amazing, folks. For those of you listening, there's quite a few of you are listening. Your decisions today is not for right now. It's 16 years from now.
Yeah.
And so what I loved about that is that it took you all of 15 minutes
Yeah.
to decide 16 years.
Yeah, right.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
so for those that are worrying about your decisions and what am I going to choose today, be mindful that those decisions carry years with it, and so we was talking about Jacob was saying, hey, my son's listening, man, thank you. And I'll throw that back up there, because we just never know when we're talking how we're impacting folks. And so your words are resonating and being planted as we speak, which is always a good way of feedback, right, to have.
Oh, we'll take it. We'll take it.
So so we talked about switching, we talked about becoming, and that's something that I've always been a proponent of, right? I have always wondered why people can't just be, why they are trying something at why can't you just be it?
Right.
And you talked about mindset, you talked about growth mentality, growth, just an environment of growth within yourself. But a lot of people have a hard time just being.
Right.
And the last several years, even now with the way the world climate is, with wars and rumors of wars and whatnot, there's a lot of instability that has occurred to the world the last 2.5 years going on now. But this is like the 15-minute sucker punch to the world, right? This is what it is.
Yep.
And so we have an opportunity to say, I'm not going to join a pity party.
Right.
I'm not going to be the statistic. I'm not going to be that one that's going to let this hinder the next 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you tell a person that is considering being the hindrance, stepping back in the shadows, letting things roll over them, just allowing the world and the cares of the world to consume them, because it's heavy right now.
Right. Well, when people are thinking negatively, when people are hung up on stuff that's happened in the past, that's backwards thinking. And we want to be forward-minded. A positive thinker is thinking about becoming. Greater is coming to you, me, and we. Coming. All right. And that's forward. I mean, we're not run by a clock. We're run by the opportunities that are coming for us tomorrow. And we have an opportunity to carve that path. We have an opportunity to choose the right attitude. We have an opportunity to have a positive impact in those small ways. I mean, Enrique, if you and I were in the store buying something right now, and you spoke to the cash register gal, valuable worker, doing her job, being super friendly, and you referred to her by her name and said thank you and made small talk and treated her like $1,000,000. Well, the dude behind you and I just heard that. And the 7-year-old behind him just heard that. And so we're having a massive impact on that. And I would challenge people, if you're not happy, I would ask, are you serving? Because I haven't met too many people that love to serve that aren't happy. And just kind of circling back, if someone is thinking about the negative stuff that's already happened or the stuff that's going on, you can't really control most of that. And I know that some of us probably get tired of hearing that, but the truth be told is, if you want to become a different kind of beast, you've got to invest in you. You've got to invest in a growth mindset. You have to invest in a positive mindset. You have to invest in the future. You have to invest where your feet are right now. And what happened 15 seconds ago already happened. You literally cannot change that. You made a mistake. You pushed send. Something came out of your mouth. You can't change that. What you can do, I don't know how many of you have read the book Talent Code. There's a book called Talent Code that talks about how our minds work. And it talks about how we have these nerve fibers. And every time you have a negative thought or a negative action, it's like you mummify that nerve fiber. And if you do it again, you wrap it again, and you wrap it again, you wrap it again. Before you know it, you've mummified your nerve fibers with crummy stuff. And you'll never get rid of it, ever. It will never go away. No one's coming to save you on that one. The only way you can save yourself, your mentality, the phenomenal life that's sitting there waiting for you, lying dormant possibly, is to, one step at a time, start remummifying that bad boy. Remummify that thing. It's a choice. You can sit there and you could stay mummified with negativity, or with some of the noise coming around from around the world. You can't control that stuff. But what you could do is you could start mummifying yourself with phenomenal thoughts of a winner, thoughts of greatness, thoughts of all this stuff that's already sitting inside you. And it is incredible. I will tell you, and you don't have to choose. You don't have to choose between serving and taking care of yourself, because I relate to that. I'm a super average, normal guy. I feel like I've always been a servant leader, but I always did it at the expense of myself. I didn't invest in me. And when life's been good for a while. Not to say there hasn't been a lot of peaks and valleys, but I would still consider my life pretty good. When it really got good for me, when I really started generating more impact and more income and relationships from people all over the world, was when I started investing in me. When I started investing in me, phenomenal things started happening. When I started filling up my cup, I've never filled up my cup more than I have in the last 24 months. And I've never had better impact, relationships, and revenue ever my entire life than I have in the last 24 months. That's just real talk.
Yeah.
Got to invest in you.
And I, you talk about, and we're going to be talking about investment here now, because you mentioned about impact. Now I'm going to credit my sister GI for this, because she told me this, but I love it, and I'll continue to say it. She said that her grandma told her to leave deep footprints, that in her life she should leave deep footprints. Everybody wants to be remembered for some, hopefully for good things, but
Sure.
some people, they choose the bad things. It doesn't matter as long as you remember me. But the thing is that they left deep footprints. We're still talking about some folks today. They haven't lived for a very long time.
Right.
And so they left deep footprints. You're talking about impact. There's reminds me of a movie called Deep Impact. Back in the day,
Sure.
Asteroids coming, oh my Lord, everybody run to the hills. But the thing is, that's what people remember.
Mm-hmm.
And so you mentioned the little scenario at the grocery store, with the young lady. Here's somebody's listening. When I go to a stop sign, I stop. My 4 tires stop.
Yeah.
And then I go and I look in the rearview mirror. And I can tell when I left deep footprints and when I didn't. Because the car immediately behind me would have either come to a full stop, or they just ran it like I was holding them up, right?
Sure.
So,
yeah.
But let's talk about investment, because investment is one of those things that we seldom ever do. And it's funny, because I was listening to someone say, we have these little devices, right? Mine says Jesus, that's what I love. But little device, I got a camera bracket. You can't crack that camera.
Yeah.
I got a case for it. This thing is shatterproof. Why? Because I don't want to spend another $1,000.
Right. Sure.
But at its most expensive point, it's $1,000.
Right.
That comes and goes.
Right.
What is the price to us?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't pack it that good.
No.
We don't invest in ourselves. Why? Oh, it's too much. That's too much. Yeah. I just spent a whole lot of money on this phone, right? And so let's talk about investment, because investment is one of the things in making sure that the best version of you comes out.
Right. Yeah. It's funny you bring that up. I'm sure you have those conversations all the time too, with your coaching programs and whatnot. Yeah. People will spend $1,000 on a phone, or they'll spend $1,500 on some toy. Mm-hmm. They'll spend all kinds of money on a car, but the 6 inches between our ears is just put on the back burner. It's crazy to me. And I used to be that guy.
Yeah, so was I.
So I'm not saying that I haven't been there. I would not. I just didn't. Yeah, it is the truth. I mean, we become what we think about, and we assimilate and we gravitate to whom we associate. So if we want to be a better version of ourselves, there's so many things that go into it, but they're all controllable. We can control who we're hanging out with. I can control what the books I'm reading, the podcasts I'm listening to, the circle that I have around me. I'm hanging out with a cool cat like you today and all your listeners. That's a choice. That was a choice. We didn't have to do this. Right. I'd been watching your stuff and we reached out and we can collaborate. Like, heck yeah, let's do this. I can learn something today. I've already written down 3 notes from Big Dog Enrique today. I'm going to come out with something here. But yeah, we got to invest, man. We got to invest. Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we invest? Why wouldn't we? I would love to have 5 reasons from any listener, 5 reasons why you would not invest in you. You're looking to become a different kind of person. You're looking to kind of have a different kind of lifestyle. We're not searching for Ferraris in life, right? We're searching for a feeling. You talked about leaving a legacy and being remembered. People aren't going to remember things. People aren't going to remember your GPA when you're in high school. People could give 2 what's about your salary. People are going to remember every day, every moment, 10 years from now, when we're all 6 feet under, they're going to remember the way we made them feel. How are we making them feel? And how are you making yourself feel? How are we? I mean, we got to, in my mind, we got to listen to ourselves less and kind of start paying attention to how we talk to ourselves more, because our words, we're a compilation of the words that we're feeding ourselves. Like, how are we talking to ourselves? This is another part of an investment. So, yeah, I don't know if that answers. How do you invest?
Yeah, it's a discussion. So yeah, there's nothing out of whack there. But so I, like you, at one time didn't have. Let me just say, I didn't have the resources to invest from outside in. Right, so I didn't have it to get a coach or to do this, but there was this free library.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
has all the knowledge in the world in it.
yeah,
And all I had to do was register for a card.
yeah.
And then there was this book. It was bound in red. It was about yay thick, about this wide, called the Webster's Dictionary. And during my most difficult times as a service member at the time, during my most difficult times, that's who I went and found refuge in.
Right.
And I couldn't have picked 2 other guys to be with better than those 2.
Right.
Because Webster's expanded my mind to words that I had never, ever heard in my life, and the meaning. And then all of a sudden, I started speaking words that other people had never heard in their life.
Sure.
And they're thinking I'm some genius. And I just took some time. I got intimate with Webster, and we got to educate. So, folks, it doesn't take money. It takes time. It takes commitment. It takes you loving yourself enough to say that I'm more important than $1,000 phone, and I'm going to invest in myself, even if it's me going to spend some time in the library. So that's how I did it. Yep. And then, you get to working and you get to doing this and you say, you know what, I don't have it all. So, you have to be humble enough to say, hey, I don't have it all.
Right.
And let me talk to a Brad. Let me talk to a Ricky. Let me talk to a Marshall, and get some external investment in me. And so there's 2 different types, and I hope people understand that. First, it starts with you. And back to your comment, Brad, about the mind and what you're thinking and what are you feeding and what you're talking to yourself about. This is the area in your life where you have to talk to yourself and say, let's get something right here. We're going to do this, even if I have to drag you.
Absolutely. Yeah. The cool thing is that we're not run by a shot clock. This isn't March Madness. This isn't basketball. We're run by our ability to be driven to be the best version of us. That's it. And we don't have to be we talked about my kiddo earlier and typical. The thing is, none of us, we all have our own typical. We all have our own typical. As you know, one of the biggest problems is people are afraid to fail because they're afraid they're not going to look as good as someone else, or they feel like they're going to look stupid comparing themselves to other people. And man, we all got our own blueprint for awesome. We all have our own typical. We literally no 2 people are alike. And so we all have something incredible inside us Why would we want to dip into someone else's, and why would we want to dip into anything else? Why not just like go?
I have put this on there earlier.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
You know, and I, for those of you listening, I know that it's easier said than done.
Sure.
If you're in a situation, totally understand that.
Yeah.
What we are able to do is we're able to tell you what's happening outside of your little world.
Yeah.
And because when we're consumed, this happened to me. What was it? I think it was yesterday. I was up close on something and I couldn't see past this little area. I was looking for something and I was intent. I was looking in this direction.
Right.
And the item I was looking for was no joke, one arm's reach on my left. I'm like, I've been looking and I'm staring in this area. Now I'm getting frustrated.
Yeah.
And things are just looking like, oh man, I need this. Where is it? Yeah. And so that's what happens with us when we're in the deep of things.
Yep.
We don't realize that sometimes it's just one arm's length over to the side, either way, and a person on the outside can tell you that easily. Are you looking for that? Have you ever?
Right. Oh, I know.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was looking for. It was like, oh, it's been right there, right next to you. So we take these moments to invest in ourselves. And I want you to get now into this best thing. You put a dot behind each one of those things for a reason.
Sure.
I want you to explain that one because I've been after it.
Yeah. Well, it's just because every second transforms. We've all got 24 hours in a day, 365 days a year. Every second we're breathing is an opportunity. And, I don't look at losses as losses. I look at, losing or failure. Those are all opportunities. And every second we're breathing, we have an opportunity to not only transform our life, but to transform the lives around us, the people that we care about the most, the people that we love. We have an opportunity to transform them just being us, not being something different, not being more than who we are, just all that we are, just investing in us. So, all the stuff that we've talked about today, that all goes into it. You becoming the best version of you. This is the crazy thing, talking about transformation. Other people, the people we care about the most, the people that we care about that we haven't even met yet, they all have a limited ceiling. They all have a limited capacity. They have limited potential. If we aren't trying to become the best version of us, they will never, ever, ever become the best version of themselves if we don't make an effort to become the best version of us. So the most unselfish thing we can do sometimes is the most selfish thing, meaning we have got to take care of ourselves. If we wish to transform our lives, if we wish to, let our, if there's a young kiddo listening, you're talking about your friends. We're talking about your classmates. We're talking about your team. We're talking about your future wife, husband, kids. I mean, this has massive impact when we don't have a sense of urgency and when we treat our life like a hobby. We want to transform things. We cannot treat our life like a hobby. We cannot treat our life with no sense of urgency. I'm just going to live my life. That's great. I'm not saying that you have to note every single, you don't have to keep track of your beats and, in every 60 seconds with your heartbeat and track everything in life. But if you're looking to transform, if you're looking to have the best life possible, if you're looking for your people, your community to have the best, your office to have the best life, the best environment, the best culture possible, it will never happen if we're not more intentional. I mean, success is a choice. It's not chance. And, a phenomenal family needs to be by design. Phenomenal culture by design. Kindness, by design, empathy by design, best self by design. So yeah, every second of the day we have an opportunity. We have opportunities. Are we going to be intentional with it, or are we going to shoot from the hip, or are we going to just treat our lives like a hobby? It's a choice.
I tell you that the most impactful leaders that I have had in my life were deliberate. Everything they did was with a reason.
Yep.
It wasn't that they shut up that day and say, let's see
Yep.
whatever, the universe throws at us today.
Absolutely.
That would be a very bad.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's the truth. That's the
Yeah,
truth.
that would be a
Fun
very
by
bad thing.
design, rest by design, everything by design. Absolutely. The best leaders, they manage that same way. Yeah, you kind of hit on it. The best coaches, the best teachers, the best at everything, sometimes it might look like they're just chilling. But even a lot of their chilling time was by design. Yeah, I agree 100%, buddy.
And so, folks, I don't know if you are living by design, um, or you're living by somebody else's design.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes we live our lives based on somebody else's design, um, and and that's probably even worse
Yeah, yeah,
because you've lost all control and you've given it to somebody else.
yeah.
And so if there's anything that I want you to get from this particular comment is there's only one of you. Never, ever, as long as Earth is rolling around in orbit, will there ever be another person like you? Do you want your dreams to be stamped on your tombstone, or do you want to live out your dreams and let them keep talking about you? Because that's the two lives. Those are the two lives. They're always talking about the date on your tombstone. That it's not the ones that at the either
Right.
side. It's that one in the middle, that
Yeah.
dash, right? That's
Mhm.
I want my dash to run around and go on to other tombstones.
Yeah. Amen.
They're gonna find my birth date over there and my expiration date over there and everything in between, because I want that to be bigger than those 2 days. And so, what are you working on? Are you working on the best version of yourself? Are you working on how you're thinking about yourself? Are you working on how you're speaking to yourself? Because that's another thing. Self-talk is very powerful, but it's powerful on both spectrums. And you meant on both sides.
Yeah.
It's powerful when you use it for good, and it is so powerful when you use it for bad.
Yeah.
So, what are we saying? And so, if someone's challenged, Brad, with that self-talk, what can they do? What can they do? Because there's a lot of people that are just weighed down. There's just too much dark, too much things on top, and they want to break out. You mentioned this earlier. People don't want to be there.
Mhm.
They don't want to be. No, I don't want to be here. Who
Right.
wants to be here? Right? They'll
Right.
tell you.
Right.
So, how do you break out? What can I do today to say I see some glimmer of light?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of different stuff out there. I mean, you've heard Mel Robbins talk about giving yourself a high five in the mirror. Seems kind of corny, but works for a lot of people.
Right.
Start journaling. Start journaling. Just give yourself 5 minutes. It's hard. People think the first step is just the first step.
Yeah.
Like, what's the first step to doing this? Well, the first step is the first step. So maybe start a journal, a gratitude journal, or and at times when you're writing those journals in the early stages, maybe it isn't all gratitude. Maybe you're venting. That's okay too, because you don't want to leave that inside. So give yourself 5 minutes, and at 5 minutes, if you're still not digging it, you can give yourself grace and call it good at 5 minutes, and then you do it again the next day. Or maybe if doing it every day is not realistic for you, maybe aim for 3 times a week to start out with and go from there. Have yourself go on walks. The bulk of us can walk. Just take gratitude walks. Talk to yourself on that walk and give yourself some positive affirmations. And the thing about it is 99% of us will have the same thoughts today that we had yesterday. 99%. 99%. So if you're that person that is stuck in pity city, or if you're that person that's kind of stuck in the middle right now, you're normal. You're normal. 99% of us are doing the same thing. Now, some of us are choosing positive a little more than you, but the cool thing is, this. It starts with awareness. When you start to have an awareness level of what, you're aware. 99% of people on the same boat. You're not on an island here. 99% of people are with you. When you start to get some awareness, that brings clarity. And when you got some clarity, that's when you can start to expand. That's when you start to expand. That's when you start to grow, when you've got a little bit of that magic rocking inside you. And so when you're writing, or when you're doing your gratitude walks, or when, just focus on your breathing. Your breath is literally food for the brain. Just focus on breathing. Spend 5 minutes getting deep belly breaths. And most people don't even breathe right. Most people breathe from their chest. Just get it out of your belly and work it there. For some people, meditation has been like the magic potion. Get into that. And, on meditating, some of you are like, well, I can't concentrate that long. Did you know that only like 30% of even people that meditate every day actually stay focused the entire time? Like, everyone kind of gets a little scattered brain if you do it long enough. And meditation is different for everybody also. Some people use it to brainstorm and think. Some people use it to get out of their head. It's different for everybody. So there's meditation. There's a lot of different ways. But for me personally, breathing, and for me to stay on the success road, I just remind myself that this is the road. It's a road. It's not a destination. I know that I'm not going to be the best. I'm going to do everything I can to be the best version of me, but I'm going to recognize that I'm always becoming. I'm always becoming. And for me to become, I have to push the envelope a little bit. I have to understand that the growth zone and the comfort zone aren't the same thing. I'm going to have to get a little uncomfortable. And the best do that. The best don't sit in the comfort zone. The best have a great time right on the edge. And that's me. I focus on breathing. I focus on hanging out with cool cats like y'all. And I focus on investing. And that's what keeps me on the straight and narrow.
Well, that's outstanding advice, folks. If you're listening and you are having a little hard time trying to figure out what the best version of you looks like, that advice will help you. I tell you, what's another thing you could do? You can call Brad.
That always works too. I heard that is an awesome route.
So, Brad, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, and talk about these issues, because 99%, folks, that's a lot of people.
Right.
Why are we not capitalizing? Why? It goes back to the investment thing, right? So how can they get a hold of you?
Sure. And I'll just piggyback on that too, by the way, buddy. I mean, only 1% of the world can say that they have financial freedom. And I'm not strictly a finance guy. I work with people on that stuff too. But what I'm trying to say there is there's a lot of room at the top for guys, peeps like you and me and we.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of room. It's crowded at the bottom. Let's get out of that bad boy.
Get out.
So, yeah. Well, people can get a hold of me at brad@braddaltongroup.com. You can email me. If you text best self to 208-353-0657, I'll get back to you directly. You can buy the book DNA of a Winner on Amazon right now. If you just search bar Brad Dalton DNA of a Winner, you'll find this double ugly cat ready to rock and roll on there. And you can obviously reach out to our friend here, Gonzalez Nation, and he'll point you in the right direction as well. And if it's just for a conversation, I'm down with that too.
Now, best self, is that together, capitalized? How are they going to do that?
For the Best Self podcast?
No, just to texting, right? Because some people might say, "Oh, that's easy."
Question. It's 2 words.
Okay.
Best Self. Yep.
And the number again?
208-353-0657.
All right, folks. Hey, I put that in there on the comments, so you got it right now, and that's the easiest way. Everybody's texting, right? So, Brad, thank you so much, brother, for sharing your book, sharing your story, our thoughts and encouragement to you and your family as you continue to press forward with your son and your family life. I bet he is just a gem, And folks don't understand that, just because it doesn't look like you doesn't mean that it's any less, right? It doesn't, because I've seen the most heart, the greatest mind. Good Lord. The greatest mind and just the greatest of things come from folks that are not like us. And so, I encourage you to keep going, brother, because that's a gem. It's a true treasure. Folks, I hope you enjoyed and you got something out of this episode tonight, talking about the best version of you with Brad Dalton. The text information is in there in the comments. I'll make sure to go back and put all his website and all that stuff in there. But for tonight, we've been talking with Brad. And I tell you, I've learned, brother. And I hope that you have too. I have a couple of comments to cover here. Number one, go check out the Honolulu Cookie Company. Brad, you're going to get one of these, brother. We got to talk about an address to send it to you.
Okay.
These are going to blow your mind. And, hey, enough to share with the family. So
huge.
Check them out. Honolulu Cookie Company. I don't get paid for that. You know why? They delicious. I'm telling you, brother. They so good. I want everybody to have some. But next Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be talking about getting out of successful leadership. And if you don't know about the play of words there, it's a reality, folks. There's a lot of leaders that are not successful. They're successful. And it hurts. It pains, folks. So I'm going to be talking about that next Thursday. Podfest is coming up, folks. Podfest here in Orlando at the Hilton, May 26th to 29th. I will be there speaking about this LinkedIn Live. So I have a session in there. It's on that Thursday. And so I hope to see you there if you're in the Orlando area, or if you're coming down in the surrounding area and you still want to go. There's an opportunity for you to get 20% off of the ticket of Podfest using DTLW Podcast 20 at checkout. And tonight is the first time I speak about this one. I have 5 listener tickets to Podfest. DM me if you're a listener of Aloha Friday Live or DTLW Podcast, and we'll talk about getting you free into Podfest and letting you enjoy that with me. It's actually, you're coming with me as my guest, and we're going to go around and do some things together. So, Brad, thank you, brother, once again for being with me tonight. Everybody, Aloha Friday. How we doing, Hawaii? Shaka, baby. Take care. Be good. And I hope to see you next Friday when we'll have another guest. Tonight is Brad's night. Thanks, brother.
You bet, buddy. Thanks for having me.